Are we live? We live? Yeah, we're live. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. I am happy to report we actually have some good news for this video. So for the last several videos, I've really been struggling with this nitrous system, and it's been just aggravating the crap out of me because, you know, in my mind, I was not doing anything any differently than I've done with the 20 or so other cars that I've put nitrous on. But we kept having the issue where it was just going, you know, pig rich. I couldn't figure it out. We replaced the solenoids, we replaced lines, we even swapped out the fogger nozzle. Could not figure out what was going on with this thing. Well, one of you guys in the comments in the last video actually inadvertently helped me out. When I say inadvertently helped me out, I mean there was actually a suggestion made that, you know, these intakes don't lend themselves well to wet nitrous kits or whatever. Now, before I go any further, I want to clarify one thing. While that is partially true, it's more false than it is true. Guys, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you've seen me spray down a lot of these engines. We've never had this issue before. Many of them have had this exact same truck intake on them, no issues. In addition to that, I would also like to point you guys to Richard Holdner. If you guys don't know who Richard Holdner is yet, then you're either under the age of 30 or I don't know, you've just not been on YouTube and you don't read car magazines at all. But Richard Holdner just did a video maybe 3-4 months ago on this exact subject, and he actually took a 6-liter with this older style truck intake on it. He put O2 sensors on every one of the runners. He did back-to-back NA tests and then tests with nitrous, and he found that the cylinder distribution on these things, it didn't change, okay? So the distribution, the air distribution, the air fuel ratio with these intakes between a wet kit and just running NA was exactly the same, guys. So while I would not recommend spraying a 500 shot through a single nozzle on one of these intakes, we're fine with what we're doing. It's not a problem. But I do want to say this. When the guy mentioned that, and I can't remember, I'm sorry, man, I think it's like stainless surfer or something. I can't remember the exact screen name of the guy who suggested that. And I'm not trying to down you at all, man. Not at all. I mean, it's a common misconception. But you did actually give me an idea, because when you said that, I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? Maybe it is a distribution problem. Since I knew from previous experience it was not a distribution problem with the intake itself, I had to just kind of sit down and think. You know, I was like, what did I do different on this nitrous setup that I have done on every other nitrous setup that we've done? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Of all the variables, this was the only thing that we did different. Normally, I mount my nozzle in the intake tube ahead of the throttle body. Now, on the truck intakes like this, you know, we've usually on the Corvette, we've got it coming straight ahead. But on these truck intakes, usually we've got an elbow right here. And what I'll do is I'll mount the nozzle in the elbow, spraying kind of at an angle so it hits right in the middle of the throttle body. Well, I didn't do that on this build. Instead, we had this spacer plate right here. So I thought I was being slick. I was like, yeah, I'll just drill holes on either side of the spacer plate. We'll thread a nozzle into either side, because I was gonna originally run two systems, 2 kits, and I was like, that'll be slick as heck. Guys, this was our entire problem right here. If you can see, number one, the nozzle just barely comes out far enough to clear the spacer. Well, that's the first problem. The second problem is, because this is right directly at the opening of the intake, the fan spray coming out of here has no time to disperse and evenly cover, you know, the intake port. Now, on the plates that you can buy, usually what they do is they spray down from the top, and it kind of puts out a fan from the top. So the incoming air, you know, just takes a hold of the nitrous and fuel mixture and distributes it evenly. Well, the problem I had here is I was spraying Oh, and it gets even worse, guys, because the nozzle is actually angled in a little bit. So basically what was happening is I was spraying all the nitrous and fuel mixture right up against the driver's side wall of the opening of the intake. And I didn't even realize this until I had somebody hold my throttle blade open, and I looked down the intake with a flashlight while I jumper wired the nitrous solenoid, and I could see, sure enough, guys, what was happening is all the nitrous, there was no nitrous from here over, okay? It was spraying every bit of that nitrous up against the driver's side runners. So in a nutshell, what was happening, the nozzle was right here. In a nutshell, what was happening, it was spraying all the nitrous like this. That's the direction it was spraying. If you can kind of see, it was spraying back in at an angle. So the driver's side of the engine was probably getting, just about every bit of the spray. The passenger side was probably pulling very little. So we probably had some real uneven distribution going on. Now, just to confirm, to confirm my suspicion, you'll also note we only have one wideband on this car, and it is on the passenger side. So I think that's why it was registering dead rich over here. Now the scary part is I've been pulling I've been pulling fuel jets this whole time to try to lean it out, because over here this whole bank was rich. So the whole time I've been leaning this out, trying to lean out this bank, I have probably been running that bank over there dangerously lean, because it was getting the majority of the nitrous. Kind of scary, guys, and in a way, I'm probably pretty lucky I didn't blow this thing up. So here's what I did to correct the problem. We got rid of our spacer, and I just came up here and I went ahead and drilled a hole. Let me see if I can turn this light on. I went ahead and drilled a hole up here in this cone for our nozzle, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's actually angled like this. So the nozzle's not spraying straight back like this. Before, it was spraying like this, and it was on the back side of the throttle body. Now we've got it angled out like this, and it's spraying directly at the center of our throttle body opening. So when we spray, we should have good distribution now. The only thing I was worried about is our air intake temperature sensor here. I was worried that the spray might hit it, but it turns out it actually fans out and it sprays right past it. And I've already confirmed on the data logs, it is not hitting our IAT sensor at all, guys. So I think we're good now. And as you saw at the beginning of this video, I already took it out. I made a couple test passes on the street. I'm gonna go ahead and go over what you're about to see here in just a minute. So in the first pass, I went from a roll, like a second gear roll on, and everything seemed like it went good, but it didn't pull very hard. But the good thing is, when I reviewed the data log, our AFRs never dropped below like a 10.9, and they were actually in the mid to high 11 range through the whole run, and that is more in line with what I generally see when I use the recommended jetting on a nitrous kit. And from there, I'll usually drop it down like one, maybe even two jet sizes on the fuel side, and it'll put us, right around our 12.0 AFR that I like to shoot for with the nitrous. All right, so you can see from that clip, well, maybe you can't see, but the AFRs were great, guys. I mean, they're still a little rich, but nothing like they were where they were hitting like 8s and 9s. I mean, we were in pretty much the upper 10s to low 11s through that whole run, so that was great. And yes, I did bump it up into neutral there. Like, I don't know what I was doing. I guess I was looking for a 4th gear or something. But anyway, guys, on the second pass, after that first pass, I was like, this thing just didn't feel like it was pulling as hard as it should. So I was like, I'm going to go for a dig. So I lined up for a dig. I took off. Of course, it spun through most of first gear. But again, it took off, and it did not feel like it was pulling really hard. The AFRs were good. Oh, and I need to mention, I did back it back down to a 150 shot for this testing, because I was pretty sure what the problem was, and I didn't want to try to spray a 250 on the street. So I backed it back down to a 150. So I'll let you go ahead and see the second clip here, and the obscene amount of blow by. I don't know if you can see my windshield, but there's oil all over my windshield. On this second pass, we started just getting major blow by out of our vent here. So I'll let you guys see that real quick, and then we'll talk about it. That wasn't good. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but we just got a ton of blow by. I mean, we've been getting blow by pretty much every time we've raced this thing, but that was a ton of blow by. I mean, it looked like I was just blowing straight smoke up out of my catch can vent. As you can see, we were getting like a plume of blow by at the top of second gear coming from our catch can vent here. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet, but let's address, the elephant in the room here, and that is that, the car did not seem like it was pulling like it was on a 150 shot, even though now the AFRs are good and everything. As a matter of fact, on that second run, when I first took off, all through first gear, and it was spinning quite a bit, guys, but all through first gear, the AFRs were actually in the low 12s, which is right where I like them. But the car didn't feel like it was pulling hard, even after it hooked up in second gear there. And I figured out why. When I went to review my data logs, initially I was just looking at the AFRs and I was like, they're good now. The nitrous is fixed. That's the main point of this video, guys. The nitrous is fixed. It's doing what it should do now. We're happy about that. But the second part, why was it not pulling hard? Well, here's the issue. I pulled that spacer out of here, and it was between the throttle body and the intake. This is a simple fix, guys. So when I did that, I pushed the whole intake, the whole throttle body assembly forward. Now I got all this slack in my cable. So when I reviewed the data log, we were only at like 85% throttle on those pulls. So ironically enough, I actually have the nitrous to engage over 80% throttle is how I have it set up in the Holly. So we were spraying nitrous, but we were only at like 85 to 87% throttle on both of those runs. So yeah, guys, she's gonna come alive. That's all I can say. I think we finally got everything in line. I've just got to get the Wi-Fi to get in the car and floor it so I can check position here on the throttle blade while I adjust my cable. Get all the slop out of that, so we got 100% throttle again. I'm not going to be able to take this car to the track this weekend. I'm sorry, guys, but I have to work this weekend. In addition to that, I also have my grandbaby, my granddaughter. We're keeping her, this weekend overnight, so can't take it to the track this week. I do plan on having it at the track next week, though, so hopefully we're finally going to get some good runs out of this thing, guys. So now that the nitrous is fixed, we're basically going to go back and we're going to do exactly what we intended to do in the last video, which is we're going to start out with a 150 shot. I am guesstimating, if everything's right, the 150 shot should get us into the extremely low sevens. Real low, like knocking on sixes doors. Then we're going to jet it up to probably a 200 shot, which should take us into the sixes. And depending on how all that goes, we're probably going to go ahead and push it up to a 250 shot and just see how deep into the sixes we can get. So anyway, the point of this video is nitrous nozzle placement is important, guys. You don't want to do what I did, okay? So make sure that wherever you put this nozzle, make sure that it's spraying towards the center of your intake opening. Or if it's not spraying towards the center, make sure you get it far enough away from the intake that it has time to fan out you know, before it gets to the opening to the intake, so you don't have to worry about distribution problems. That's your little tech tip. Learn from my mistake. Don't chase your tail for 2 months trying to figure out why the hell your nitrous kit is not spraying correctly. Thanks again for watching. Get out in the garage, get something done, and I'll see you next time here on Bad Luck Garage.